Hey guys, it's Salad again, and man, did they nuke the hell out of this format. Obviously, this isn't going to be like a reaction type video of the ban list. This is more so a discussion on what I think the format's going to look like because of said ban list. But I'm actually very happy. I did get a lot of things right, but there were some things that even I didn't expect them to do, particularly with, I think, Vanquish Soul and Yummy. I knew they were going to hit something with Yummy, but I just didn't want to address it just yet in case it didn't happen. But right off the bat, we got Moon of the Closed Heaven ban, Splash Mage is gone, King of the Fairlimb's gone, Paradise gone. All the cards that I thought they were going to address, they did. Moon of the Closed Heaven was broken just because it was a bridge like, what was it, Nightmare Mermaid from a couple of years back, where any two effect monsters could effectively be full Orcust combo. Same thing with what happened with Fiendsmith. Glad they addressed it because it should be run in either Light Fiend decks, like Live Twin, or just in decks where they have an easier time to get to it. Even Ryziel can still technically go into their Requiem if they just make the, what is it called, Exciton Knight, but they have to open Ice, and with Ice being a 2, that's not as reliable. Splash Mage, gone. I'm so glad they hit this because, good god, it felt like hitting Malice with hand traps just didn't work the way that it was supposed to. So I'm glad they did that. King of the Fairlimps, don't be fooled, this deck is still alive. Mitsurugi Ryziel just needs to adjust some ratios. They can't fully go into each other now, which I do appreciate, but it's not going to kill the deck, which was never the goal. The goal was to make it to where it's not as hyper consistent with itself. Paradise Smasher, this card was just generically unfun, and the fact that there were so many decks that could abuse this, there was Memento, Sidra Canine could occasionally make this, but Canine Crystron especially abused this card, and that's a pretty big hit to that deck, but you could even use this in Vanquish Soul. So there was just too many decks all at once that could use this. I'm glad it's gone. Now we move on to the limits, and I'm a little perplexed by some limits. X Ryziel is fine, but I would have preferred if they put like Sword or Ice to 3. Ice being to 3 would have been perfectly fine. Dormouse going to 1 is questionable with Splash Mage being gone. Like, I would have preferred if they just left Dormouse alone. Had they not touched anything else in Malice, I think the deck would have been fine. Because Splash Mage has always been the problem, because any two bodies converting into that card just effectively is free. Now Rosin going to 1 hurts Vanquish Soul a lot. Okay, I expected Stake Your Soul to be the card they hit before Rosin. They hit both. And I told people it was either Rosin's going to 1 or Stake Your Soul is going to 1. Apparently, I jinxed it into the air and both of them got hit. So I'm very sorry to anybody who invested into Vanquish Soul because this fucking nuked your deck. Fiendsmith Lacrima, who cares? Time rules don't really affect this card, so it can come off the list. It actually makes Fiendsmith better, but Fiendsmith again is not hyper splashable. Linkuriboh, this is a bit of a yummy boost, but it also helps the Snake Eyes deck, which did come off a little bit more. It came off the list a little bit more, is what I'm trying to say. Summon Sorceress, who cares? It's got its errata, it could go to 3. Herald of the Arclight going to 1. Now, this was something I did expect, but I wasn't sure if they were going to do it now or later on next year. I'm glad they did it now because Double Herald felt really god-awful. Zodiac Trident, Trident effectively serves one of two things. It can either be used in Ryziel as part of their end board, which, I mean, what, you make like a 4 material detonator plus a Trident, so you have like 5 pops. If you set up Eclipse Twins, there's more, but I don't think it's going to be used for that. I think Trident's going to be more so a going second option alongside things like Exciton Knight to be able to make like a 4 material Zeus. So there's that. Crystron Inclusion, not gonna lie, this kills the deck for me. I'm not gonna bullshit. This hit actually hurts so much because now we have no way to play Underdrill and Lockbird reliably, because unless you hard open the inclusion, which is going to be difficult because I play a 42 card list and seeing a one of is going to be difficult. Obedience School, technically this card could still be looked at as being at 3 because you can play 2 Thrust and Yummy, but I like that they limited this card because it not being once per turn after you Ash it is just insane. Solemn Judgment going to 1. I didn't know this was a hit that needed to happen, but the more I thought about it, the more I liked this, because if you think about it, all of the Solemn cards no longer have the downside when going into time, because life point manipulation is no longer a factor when going past the 50-minute mark. Now it's, how do I stop my opponent from playing the game and finish as quickly as possible? Solemn was one of the ways you could do it, because if you opened multiples of this when you were hard going first, post game 1, you just set a couple of these and you basically looked at your opponent's hand. Instead of playing with 6 cards or 5 cards or 4 cards, depending on if they hand trapped you, they're playing with 2 less cards effectively. So, and this card really just, it crapped on board breakers the most, because I was siding this against something like Dark Ruler, which was extremely unfair. So I'm happy that they hit this. Branded Fusion to 2. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a Branded Andy. I know a lot of people hate this deck. Hopefully the next time that they address this deck, they're banning Sanctifier Dragon and we can get Branded Fusion to 3. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I know Sanctifier is the problem. Unlimited. Glow Up Bulb, I'm not really sure if this is going to be a problem. I mean, you only run one of it. The difference between 1 and 3, it's negligible at best. Masterpiece is fine. You're never really making a towers that is unaffected by everything. Plus, it's only 2950, so if you can't figure out a way to hit over this card, I don't know what to tell you, because it's a worse Liger Dancer in so many different aspects. Morphing Jar to 3. If you're playing Morphing Jar or just Empty Jar Turbo in 2025 going into 2026, you're trolling, you're a casual, and Godspeed to you. Fan of Skyblaster. We're not really in a link-based format, so this card can come off the list. Snake Eye Ash and Poplar. I predicted this. I didn't think that Snake Eyes needed to be on the ban list anymore, because what are they doing at this point? They fell off the face of the planet whenever Original Sinful Spoil, Bonfire, Ash, and Poplar all got hit. So the fact that all of these are coming off the list, and they're probably not going to do anything, we might get OSS back to 1. And that sounds crazy, but I think even with Original Sinful Spoils, everything's been power crept. We're in a completely different format where I don't even think these cards are on anybody's radar, even if OSS comes back. Dragonic Diagram. Dino players are going to be eating good, but they've been getting support for like the last year and a half, and outside of the occasional regional top, this deck is doing fuck and all. Lightning Storm to 3, yeah, that's fine. I mean, the difference between 2 and 3, who cares? Most people were doing 2 Lightning Storm and a Feather Duster anyways. And citing back row hate, it's not good this format, because the decks that can run back row usually have stuff that is chainable to when you activate Lightning Storm. Things like Dust Devil, things like Surprise, just so many different cards don't get affected by Lightning Storm. It's a mid card. Zodiac Barrage. This is going to be interesting in something like Tri-Brigade. I think Tri-Brigade Zodiac is a thing that is going to come back whenever Doom of Dimensions comes out, which I'm happy about because that's one of my favorite versions of Tri-Brigade to play. But outside of that, what are the things that I'm concerned about the most that they didn't hit? First off, they did not ban Ouroboros. I wanted them to ban Ouroboros because I hate hand rip effects, and I know that that's probably what Ryzeal will gravitate towards next, but it's fine. I wanted them to ban Exciton Knight to stop certain rank 4 strategies, because believe it or not, it's not just Ryzeal that can abuse that card, it's also Mitsurugi. Mitsurugi can actually make 2 level 4s that go into Exciton Knight for Fiendsmith combo, so oddly enough, Mitsurugi Fiendsmith is still a deck that can be played. But I don't know if they're even going to go that route, because it conflicts with something like Impulse. You're better off playing pure Mitsurugi at that point. Outside of that, I think the ban list is really good. They nuked so many things out of orbit, and then they just didn't touch Draco Tail. But Draco Tail gets some pretty mid support in Doom of Dimensions, whereas Yummy is still going to be like a tier 1 deck. The only viable version of Draco Tail is going to be the branded Draco Tail version, which will get more support whenever the structure deck for branded comes out next month, and that structure deck is stacked. I'm gonna have a video talking about that and all the like various reprints that they did for it. It's going to be the best structure deck ever printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! Mark my words. But outside of that, I'm really optimistic about the game. I'm looking at playing either Lunalight or Branded, just until the new Tri-Brigade support comes out or DDD stuff comes out. If DDD is good enough, I'm actually going to be playing that instead, because it's one of my favorite decks of all time. But with that being said, I hope you enjoy this format. It's really going to be a good time now that all of the problematic stuff has been hit. We're in a wild, wild west now. I got some other things cooking in the background. Cheers.